Today I have George Thomas from Financial Freedom Builders. We're going to get to talking over here. Welcome. Thanks for coming on. I already told everybody I was in Lagos, Nigeria. So if there's glitches and lighting weirdness and all that kind of stuff, forget it. Where am I talking to you?
Yeah. So again, Dr. Froe, I appreciate you having me on. And I am currently in Tampa, Florida. So I am not in Nigeria. I am in the wonderful United States.
With the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who aren't doing too badly this year. Are you a football fan?
I am a football fan. I am not a Bucks fan, but they are doing pretty well, and I think they have a chance for sure this year.
Who's your team?
The Raiders, randomly. Someone may ask, okay, so are you from the West Coast and whatnot? I'm not. I was born and raised in New York. But the reason I do like the Raiders is because I was a fan of Jerry Rice. And so when Jerry Rice, on the latter part of his career, went to the Raiders, he was there with Tim Brown and company, started to like them. And then, of course, ironically, it was the Super Bowl where the Bucks blasted them, where it was just literally the beginning of the end. But I've just stuck it out with them since then.
All right. So just so you know, I'm a Kansas City Chiefs fan, so we have things to talk about. Okay. All right, George, why don't you start out by, I'm just going to go ahead and go with the first question, and you can give your intro into who you are. Tell us your money story.
Yeah. So, a little bit about me, before I go into that question. So, I'm married to almost 10, next year will be 10 years to my wife, Kathy. We have 3 beautiful kids. And, I've always been a finance guy, got into finance many years ago, did my undergrad, got a bachelor's in finance. Then I jumped in, got my MBA maybe a little over a decade ago in healthcare administration concentration, but it was an MBA. And then I went the healthcare route for a while. A lot of that stemmed largely in part due to my mother. My mom was a nurse for many years, and I used to intern with her and go to where she would work and spend my summers doing volunteer hours. And I really liked the compassion she provided, providers were providing for the patients. But then I was never really the blood and guts person, still not to this day. And so, at the time I asked her, I said, what can I do in this space based off of what I like? And so she said, go into administration. There's healthcare administration. And so that's where I landed on that journey with the path with healthcare. So I did that for some years. I got all the way up to an AVP role where I was working and I was overseeing different teams and such across the state. All that was great. But, always from the beginning, I've always had a passion, number one, for serving people. But number two, I've always had a passion for finances. And so, for a couple, maybe I'll say maybe less than a decade ago, I would tell you, I was in a situation where my wife and I, we were having our firstborn son, and we were at a point where we were just about barely getting by, paycheck to paycheck, if you will. Now, you're talking about two folks. My wife was a double major from the University of Florida. I had a bachelor's in finance, was getting my MBA, just got that, had a good paying job, and we were still not getting there. A lot of that had to do with my wife deciding to get onto the workforce to just, watch over our son. At the time, we didn't want to leave them with just anyone. So it was one income coming in, decent income, but we were just not getting there. And at that point, I realized that I had some really big decisions to make in regards to where I saw myself with my finances and what my next step was going to be. So the first thing was I had to be brave enough to ask questions and get guidance. That's a difficult part, and you probably know that a lot, Dr. Froe, and how the journey of seeking help. You're talking about somebody that was well educated, knew numbers, had a good scope of things, but I just wasn't getting there. So I sought guidance and I sought help, and I got help from a mentor at the time who really gave me orientation as to where my opportunities were. Literally transformed everything in my life ever since then. And so from there, the ascension and the breakthrough of everything else kind of took off from there. But then somewhere around 5 years ago, as I found this path where we found really great financial success, my wife and I decided that, hey, there are a lot of people out there working really hard, trying to make an honest living, that are just not getting by. And they're working 9 to 5, they're working countless hours, they're tired, exhausted, struggling, stressed. And they would want to pursue a life where they can get back some of that time so that they can invest that time with people that they care about. And so we started this journey where we started this company called Financial Freedom Builders to help those people that are looking to find that road that we found and are flourishing in, and giving those folks guidance, steps, and a structure to help them get to where they want to be. So that's kind of where the journey was and my money story, if you will.
I'm going to back you up because you started your money story in college. Well, actually, you started back. You really didn't tell your money part of it back when you were going with your mom to nursing and doing all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
So, when you were little, what kind of things you remember hearing, or you might not even remember hearing them, but things that you know now that you got from childhood that have affected the way you do things. You told a great story, and I have a lot of questions about that, but let's start with that one where you could even see that you had a problem. I know people, it's like, I don't have enough money. And they think, oh, I just got to work more. I got to make more. I got to make more. I got to bring it in doing my 9 to 5. You had a different path. And so we want to get to how you got to that way of thinking about things. Go back to pushing back in the day.
Way back in the day. So I love this question. So, man, I was fortunate and blessed to two things. Number one, I was fortunate and blessed to have two hardworking parents. They were both immigrants from the Dominican Republic. I saw work ethic and I saw what hard work looks like and what it translated to. So my parents worked very hard, but they were trading time for money. It was this countless journey of trading time for money, maybe missing information that's out there in regards to how to find other ways to build income. However, from path one, I learned work ethic. The second piece is that my parents, though, were good stewards of the money that they were coming in. They were managing their money. So there was a couple of things that I learned. Number one is through my parents, I learned the basics of a budget. I would get an allowance, started maybe say as $1. Okay, with your dollar, this is what you do with your dollar. You give 10 cents to your sister, give 10 cents to your mom, give 10 cents to the church and all these other things. So the $1 became $10. Then, okay, this is what you do with $10. And so from a young age, I started learning the basics of budgeting. Then I learned from there the essence of saving. So they would buy me things and, they made a good living. They would buy stuff for my sister and I. But then there were times where they would intentionally not purchase things to have us build and save and budget our money to be able to buy those things. A couple of things that really catch my attention. Number one, I talk about going back to my childhood. At the time, there was a system called a Nintendo GameCube. It was a Nintendo system, yep. And I wanted it, and I was, really wanted it. They would not buy it for me. They wanted my sister and I to go through the journey of saving money. Now, we were getting an allowance of, let's say, $10 or $15. We would use some of the money. We would save some. We would enjoy life a little bit, etc. But it took several months to finally get to the number of where we needed to buy the GameCube. So there was a valuable lesson there learning that, hey, one, money doesn't grow from trees, but number two, you need to have some structure and discipline to be able to get and acquire the things that you want to acquire in life. The second part of that story was further on in my latter teenage years. It was time to buy a car. I wanted to buy my first car. The agreement was they would not buy my first car. I would have to save my money to buy my first car, which of course wouldn't be no Mercedes-Benz at this point in time. However, they would help me get to work. They would help me get there. I would work. Let's say, for one scenario, I was working, 10 to 6 or 2 to 11 or 9 to 5 or whatever the case may be. But I'm literally working countless hours. So much so that through high school, I never had a car because I didn't save enough money. So I went to the university. At the time, I was an undergrad at a university. And I went there without a vehicle, so I've never owned a vehicle at the time. And at the school, I had to pick up a job to continue to save, so I was doing work study. So in the evenings, from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m., Monday through Thursday, I still remember this, actually Monday through Friday, still remember this to this day, I would work, I would clean classrooms with the cleaning groups. I would clean all the classrooms and all that, and they gave me decent money. But as you could possibly imagine, there were so many things I missed out on. Right? A lot of the events, a lot of the games, a lot of going to go play ball and all these other things because I had to go to work. So I learned the essence of being responsible, saving money, and being able to manage my time accordingly to get to my goals. Well, long story short, I bought my first car. It was a 1997 Nissan Altima, by the way. Great mileage. I was able to get great mileage off of that. But I bought the car. And to me, it wasn't so much about the car. It was the lesson that I learned that to this day, those principles, those difficult moments where, man, all my friends got a car, all my friends did this, they have that, I don't have that. It translated to immense principles that has transcended how I even started this business to begin with, going all the way back to my childhood. That's a great question. I love that question. I just maybe brought me back down memory lane.
Lots of stuff. I forgot I was going to ask you a question about your working. Oh, did your parents talk about money, or was it all lessons and how they showed you that was more showing than talking? Did you guys talk about money as a family? Let me ask that question.
Great question. So we talked about money in the sense of what to do with it when you get it. Let's say budgeting or whatever the case may be, giving it.
Okay.
But in the essence of how money works and how do you multiply your income and all these things, didn't go that far. Obviously we heard the basics of, okay, when you get a job, get the 401k and all these things. But, you and I both know, just working full time and getting a 401k and then expecting that, later on, you're going to be where you need to be. It's a very sad misconception. So we didn't go into the weeds of necessarily the multiplication of income. But the essence of the basics of managing finances, oh man, they gave me a great baseline that to this day, I find that it has really set me a baseline for success long term.
So what I'm hearing is that your parents taught you how to trade time for money.
That's right.
I mean, what most of our parents taught us.
That's right.
And then you realize with your wife and you're having a baby that, this trading time for money is not getting us where we need to be.
Not at all.
And it wasn't that I heard you say you got a mentor. So you didn't, like a lot of my folks that I talk to, get a bunch of books. Physicians are, I can figure it out myself. I'll read a book and I'll understand it. Which you can. It's a lot harder than finding a mentor to talk you through. You read all the books you want. Somebody's real life did. It's a whole nother conversation, right?
That's exactly right.
What led you being able to think through, I need a mentor? Did your parents help? Did you see them getting people to help them, or how did you learn that?
Yeah. So, man, I would tell you how I ended up with a mentor, seeking guidance. It was, I got to a point where, you mentioned this earlier, trying to figure it out on my own wasn't working. And my family, again, they had a baseline of knowledge that was beneficial to me in regards to things how I manage. But what I was going to need to where I was really trying to get to, I was going to have to look elsewhere. And so, to your point, I have the path of books, free internet information, which be careful with that, of course, as you and I both know, or say, okay, let's get some professional support as to how to go about this. And it was by far the best decision I've ever made. I had to remove the pride, had a finance background, I know numbers, I know these things. I had clearly a baseline on how to budget in my money, but to remove those things and say, let me see where are my blind spots, and give somebody the ability and empower them to coach me and teach me how to get out of a situation. The journey there too.
So being coachable and being teachable around something that you went to school for.
That's right.
I know this is a huge step. And
Yes, ma'am.
many of us, A students, we worked hard. We are A personalities, drive. I can do it myself. Don't step out of our own way to let someone help us, which is so big to me. I talk to so many people, it's like, well, I can do that myself. When it even comes to rental properties, I'll just manage it myself.
That's right.
What? Okay, time out, but okay, you can. Everybody can. Of course
Right.
you can. It's like anybody could be a doctor. Anybody could do it. It's a lot of work, and you got to stick. But anybody can do it. Bottom line, this is where I'm going. Yes, you can do anything, and you can do it faster if you have somebody who's been there before.
Yeah, and you talk about rental property, and I remember when we bought our first one many years ago. We bought our first rental property, and the first thing immediately I thought about was when I was in the journey, when I was trying to break out of where I was financially in that cycle of paycheck to paycheck. The first thing immediately I said is let's find some support in regards to someone that can guide us to make sure we're doing things the right way. I'll give you a great example of something that I'm thankful. I'm so thankful that we didn't even think twice about finding some support. We started our process, and we were going to rent out the property, and we put it up for a particular number to rent it out. Maybe one day went by, not really any hits. 2 days went by, not really any hits. 3 days went by. probably like 5 days in. And so we're like waiting to like, all right, who's going to be the person that's going to help us, fund, staff our house? Who's going to staff our home? Nothing went by. So we called immediately. We called our mentor and said, hey, how's it going? Oh, yeah, how's you guys doing? They're like, yeah, the house is great. It's in great shape. It's in order, and et cetera, et cetera. We put it out. Have you put the listing out? Yes. Okay, so who's come to see it? We haven't seen anybody to come see it yet. Okay, how long have you had it up? We're about, I don't know, 5 or 6 days in right now.
Okay.
The moment she looked at it, she says, something's wrong. And we're like, what do you mean? Something is fundamentally wrong. Talk to me about all the specifics. So we started talking about all these specifics. And the moment she says, okay, so how much you guys listing it out for the rent? We told her said number. She says, that's exactly your problem. She said is you have a desirable location. Clearly you guys have done the legwork to put it in place and nobody's biting. That means that you clearly have the price significantly higher than what it's probably the market demand is. You bring it lower, you should be getting immediate hits. You should not wait longer than 3 days to be inquired. You're like, okay, brought it down literally $200. No, yes, $200. We brought it down $200. The phone would not stop going off, and it was just a valuable lesson. But imagine sitting there trying to figure it out on your own. Oh, no. So I agree with you. This is it's removing the pride. It's not that there's a deficiency with us as individuals. Nobody has all the information. That's just the truth. None of us know everything. We're all learning. We're all growing. We all have strengths. We all have vantage points. And so we lose a lot of time thinking that we have to figure it out on our own. If you figure out that, hey, let me encompass myself with individuals that think differently than me, that may know things differently than I do, it makes me a more well-rounded individual, not because of what I know, but because of who I have around me.
And that's the most important thing. You don't have to know everything. You shouldn't know everything. You shouldn't be the smartest person in the room on the thing that, if you're a physician, being the smartest person in the room on real estate is a problem. It's a problem. Being the smartest person in the room on stocks and bonds is a problem. You need different people. So when did you say you got a mentor? Let me ask you, did you pay for your mentor the first time, or was this somebody who was just willing to help you figure out what's going on?
Yeah, good question. So the first discussion with this individual that I had was it was a consultation that was free. But the moment that I realized, okay, this is where I need to be, I was willing to invest into it right away. So I invested into it for a period of time, yes.
Okay. So I have a lot of people who are like, well, I'm not going to pay money for that. I can just go read a book. Yeah, again, but you can. And you will get the information. It is about compressing time and making things go faster.
Right.
Okay. So when did you start realizing that investing was a thing, that you needed to actually have your money working for you rather than you doing all the work, bringing the money in?
Yeah. So the moment my finances got in order following that experience with the mentor, I had an excess amount of money. At this point, I realized that I was missing out on a lot of things with my oldest son at first. I missed out on a lot of things in the beginning because I was working a lot of countless hours. Working a lot. My wife was home and, she spent a lot of time with our oldest, but I missed out on a lot of things. And so the moment that happened, the light clicked on. I said, wait a minute. If I'm the only one bringing in income because I'm using my time to bring it in, then I won't be able to make enough unless I give more time with myself, which means I'm going to miss more things that I don't want to miss as a father. And so immediately I said, I need a third or a third, because my wife was obviously contributing as well. By being at home, there was a cost saving. So I needed a third wheel in the race immediately to help generate more income. And so the moment I realized that what was against me, I could actually use as an ally, which was first perceived as an enemy. If I can convert it into an ally, it can allow me to evolve. And that's interest. Interest is sometimes perceived as an enemy because it's working against us a lot of times when we're in debt, et cetera, et cetera. But if you can convert the enemy, if you will, perceived enemy as interest, and allow it to use it to you as an ally, you then realize, okay, I can make my money making me more money while I can be doing something else. And over time, this resource, this employee of ours would be outperforming my ability to what it's making money. And then I can reduce back my time and then reinvest it back into where I want to invest it into, which was my family.
So you It became a time thing. It's like
Right.
I'm missing time with my wife, my child. She knows everything. I know little. And you might not have had that second and third if some other things hadn't changed.
You ain't lying. You ain't lying.
Right? Okay. So it was you realizing that you needed a third person, air quote person, working.
Yes.
And that person for you was money.
Yes.
Having the money you made, not just go out into, we call them from rich dad, poor dad, doodads, things that do not make money, but buying assets.
Yes.
Your first asset is interest.
Yes.
I heard that. Okay. So were you saving money? How did you, and did you talk to a mentor? Did somebody point that out to you? Or was this your finance background that was just back in your head and you knew what to do?
Good question. So yes, I was saving money, putting money to the side. But as you know, depending on where you're saving, you're not really getting anywhere very quickly, right? And I have nothing against the banks and whatnot, but we understand that the banks here are really, it's an institution where they can gather our money to reinvest our money. And in exchange, they give you some sort of interest rate that is immediately wiped out the moment you catch any sort of bank fee. Because you catch, let's say, an overdraft fee, it will take you forever to make the $35 back at 0.05 or 0.01% interest, right? So I knew that wasn't the game. So to your point,
not even an overdraft fee. We're just talking about regular service fees.
Oh yeah, that too. That's right.
Regular service fees.
Monthly maintenance fee, yeah, $5, and it'll take you forever to get that back. So it's not. I won't call it a scam because I don't think it's a scam. I just think it's a place where if you think it's there to help you advance your financial agenda, that's where the misconception is, in my opinion. So my finance background, to your point, did kick in. So I understood about investing. I understood about the market. What I didn't have at the time was the resources to put into the market. Okay. And so that's where point number one is. And, for those with the wealth building mindset, I'm big on the wealth building mindset. It always starts from within. What you can always control better what leaves the account. You can't always control what comes in, but you can control significantly better what comes out. So as an example, and then I'll go back to finishing the point. What comes in, right? You got a job, you're working overtime, you got a business, you got this, you got that. As much as people would want to believe they can control that, you're not really as much in control of that as you think. You could lose your job. Your job can say no more overtime. Whatever was a business making you money may no longer make you money. And so now here you are with less coming in what you thought. But essentially, what's coming out, you really do have significantly more control. One may say, well, my bills are through the roof. True. But option one is, theoretically, you don't have to pay the bill. You don't have to live in the apartment. You could live in your car. Not saying you should. But the essence of principle is you can control what's coming out significantly better. So that's where I think that's the piece where there's the first part. But now that you got control of what's coming out, this money that's remaining from the after fact, that's the piece that you got to go. And so I immediately with that, I started turning on the investing hat back on. I knew how to invest, trading with stocks, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's where I started taking that journey to allow me to multiply my income and use that as a revenue stream as I look to build up the revenue sheet at that time. So that's kind of how I ended up starting to use interest to my benefit.
I really like that point you made about you can control better what's going out than what's coming in, because we feel like I go to work, money, I should be getting my check. Imagine those people working for, this is timely, guys, the United States government right now, who government shut down, saying you don't get no check.
That's right.
I've got two sisters that work for the government. One is actually getting paid, one is not.
Oh, wow.
You got to work, but you don't always get paid.
That's right.
Investments. My journey, you guys, know my journey by investing in houses. I didn't get a mentor to start out with. We bought 18 properties in 2 years with no mentors except books. And lost them all. Wow. It was a very painful lesson to learn. But we had our money going to work for us, but we didn't know everything we didn't know. Not seeing your blind spots. That's what mentors are for, to show you what you do not know. Show you what you're not seeing. And this is just so important. Okay. So you knew stocks, you knew that kind of thing. You started investing in that. You started getting some of your time back, which sounds like the biggest thing for you, which I would gather is the biggest thing for everybody. Is like, can I get some time?
Oh yeah.
And then where did you go? How did you get to actually starting the business you started?
Yeah. So here's what was the biggest catalyst was probably about maybe 5, 6 years ago. I don't know if it was we were going through some circumstances with the economy. I don't know what led to it, but over a span of 3 weeks, it was literally a 3 week span. I had, different folks that I knew, not connected one to another, just different individuals that reached out to me randomly over a 3 week period, asking me financial questions.
Mm.
One was about a house, one was about investing, one was about budgeting, whatever the case may be. And so, not connected. It's not like I spoke with them on a routine basis, but they just reached out to me. And so I asked my wife, I told my wife, I'm like, I don't really know why these folks are reaching out to me. I'm like, finding it to be so random. And it was what she said that day that was so simple. It was so simple. But for whatever reason, it was so profound to me that day that it really was the catalyst. So she said is they want to hear what you have to say about the topic. So tell them. And I heard her say that and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do that. So one thing led to another, one guidance, advice, etc., tips, suggestions, etc. Outcomes, thank God they were favorable in all the scenarios. And then the return was you really should do something around starting something to help people with finances. And that's all I needed to hear. I'm an action-oriented individual. My mind is set on doing something. I'm going to do it. And it was all I needed to hear there to get this thing kind of off the ground. And, obviously, thank God it's been a blessing to people. And I don't do it. This doesn't sustain or keep the lights on at the home, right? And and you can appreciate this because we have found other methods and other streams of income that keep the lights on at home. This is really just pursuing what I felt in my heart was calling from God to help people along the way that wanted to get on this track and get to this success. And I just pursued it and I've continued to walk down the road ever since.
Probably like me, it's like, how come everybody doesn't know this?
Yeah.
Like, this is not rocket science, but if you don't know it, it's rocket science. And there's just a lot of little details to know. And everybody should know it. It's not hard. That's what the thing is. If you don't know it, if you don't think to know it, you don't know it's a blind spot for you. You don't know. It just becomes a thing. And I'm like, anybody that wants to hear from me, I'm willing to tell you. It's
That's right.
just, and I'm willing to help you. And I want you investing. I want you to have options. For me, it's options. If you want to keep working your 9 to 5 as a physician, your 7 to 7, 7 to 10, 24, whatever it is,
Yep.
do it. But it's such a different feeling to do it when you know you don't have to do it. When that one thing happens that you're like, I'm out. I'm done with this. I can
Yes.
move on. And you know you can. It's an amazing feeling. I remember it wasn't that long ago that I felt that I can still, when I think about it, it's like, oh yeah, that felt really good to know
Yes.
that you tell me you don't need me anymore.
I'm good.
Fine.
That's right.
It'll be fine.
You mentioned something, and I just want to double down on it because I just think it's true. It's not hard. It's not hard. This journey of finances and understanding how to manage finance, it's not hard. But what's the most difficult part for individuals is implementing what you are seeing and what you're hearing. Most times people can start it for a day or a week, but if it doesn't transform into a lifestyle of how you are pursuing and how you're approaching mentally finances, you don't see the outcomes you're yielding. So the simplicity of what's being told to you, if not implemented correctly, creates a complexity in your future.
Yeah. Yes. And we are in a phase of life where everything is fast and you don't always see results as fast as you want to see them. That's the other
Right.
thing. So that gets back to mindset, and we've kind of skirted around mindset and being able to see. And it really is about how you see things that makes you be able to make money. Talk
Okay.
about how you help people around their mindset. Talk about how you help people with their mindset?
Yeah, I'm so big on just the mindset. I think everything with the mindset when it comes to finances really transforms everything. When you realize that at the end of the day, just the fundamental that you're trading time for money, which is hindering you from being able to live the life you desire and fulfilled life that you desire, the moment you come to grips with that, you then start to value time in a different dimension. In a place, dare I say, where it should be. Most people think money is the most important thing and will fix most of their problems. If I give you all this money, but it requires you to work 80 hours, 90 hours a week, it doesn't matter how much money I gave you. You can't live the life you want because you have to continue to trade time to get the money. So that's the first thing. The second thing I tell folks is that when it comes to finances in general, there is an equation. There's a factor with finances that's the most important thing, which is your net worth. And I always tell folks with this net worth, I always use it as an equation. It's your net income less your total expenses, right? So it's an equation. And what remains there is your net worth. So going back to, elementary math, with an equation, there are two components that can influence the outcome of the equation, the first factor or the second one, right? So the net income. With the net income, you can influence the net worth. So net income, you can get another job, you can get a raise, you can get a bonus, you can start doing Uber, you can buy real estate. You can do a lot of these things to increase your net income. And if you increase your net income, you will increase your net worth, which is the most important factor. Problem is, most times, not all times, so most times, to increase your net income, if you're not investing, you are trading time for money to increase your net income. So yes, you are increasing your net worth, but you're essentially trading time for money, which is still, point number one, the most fundamental principle that's important when it comes to managing finances is that you want to protect your time as much as possible. So then it leads to the second way. So the second factor is instead of just increasing your net income, you can just decrease your total expenses. So if you decrease your total expenses and your net income remains the same, your net worth increases. So yes, you're only making $50,000 a year, but last year you spent $51,000. So you had a net worth of negative $1,000. Next year, the job didn't give you a raise, for example. You're staying at $50,000 a year. Boo-hoo, you're upset, etc. But this year, you've cut back on some of the subscriptions, you've changed how you spend on food, etc. And now your money coming out instead is $48,000. So last year you were negative $1,000. This year you're up $2,000. You made a $3,000 swing, or essentially you got a $3,000 raise without making more money, which means you didn't spend more time to increase your net worth. And so those are the two things fundamentally that I think. And then the third piece, this is the third piece. You cannot be afraid to invest. Anybody listening, you cannot be afraid to invest. You can't get to your end game unless you have your money making you more money. And so with that at hand, what happens is why most people are afraid to invest. The most important reason why is not because of losing money. That is a perceived reason, but it's not really the reason. If you unpeel the onion, why people are afraid to invest, it's not because they're losing money. It's because they're afraid to lose the time they spent to get the money that they lost. That's the problem. So if I, dealing with this annoying coworker, every day and this nagging boss, for the last 3 years, and I've been miserable and I've missed out on so many things in my kid's life, etc. And that money disappears, then to me, all of that I just did was in vain, right? I was better off not doing it. So people fear that they lost not money, they lost, point number one, they lost the time it took to get the money. But you can't be afraid to invest because at the end of the day, if your money is not making you more money, you won't get there. So the key is get the guidance you need to teach you so you can learn how to invest safely. Hey, these are some things, these are some avenues, these are some strategies. You're going to go on this journey, and over time, you will start seeing those results on the other side.
And having that, so I'm going to go to, you can be afraid to invest. I'm afraid every investment I make, I'm afraid. I have a level of fear. It cannot stop you from doing it, though.
That's right.
You have to walk through that and go to the other side. And I start with folks with small amounts of money. It's like, just use this. And the small amount depends. It's a percentage of whatever they feel like they can afford to actually lose. What can you lose and not lose sleep over?
That's right.
And let's put it out there. Then did that change your life? No. You're making money on it. Did that change your life? No. Okay, now where are we going? How are we going to step that up a little bit? Because it is a scary thing to put your money out there. And I never thought about it that way, but you feel like you've lost all that time.
Yeah.
That's how I got in my mind. And this has been a while and it doesn't always stick, that money comes. It just keeps coming. It really does. And I get scarcity sometimes. I really do. I mean, you have to work on it every day. I'm just like so annoyed by these things that you have to work on all the time. It's like, how come I can't work on it once and it sticks? But it doesn't. But there is fear. That's the biggest thing. There is fear. And it doesn't, for me, go away. It hasn't gone away. It hasn't stopped me from investing. I bought, after we lost those 18 properties and I had a credit score of 500 and life was ugly,
Mm.
came back. It's just, okay, how did I screw that up?
Yes, ma'am.
Mine was I didn't have any mentors. I started investing in my education
Yes.
and know my blind spots, and then stepped it right on back up. And here we are. I'm so happy I did. And my goal, just like I know George's goal, is that people don't make the same mistakes we've made.
Yes, ma'am.
If we can help it. If George and I can help you not make the mistakes we've made, you'll make plenty on your own. I promise you, plenty on your own.
Oh, yeah.
But if you don't have to make the ones I made or the ones George has made,
That's right.
that's what we're here for. That's what the investment in that mentorship is, to get you going faster, further, and get to the goals that you want. Both of us probably are in the place of, what do you want to do? This isn't about making money. It's
No.
not. What's it for? There's a lot of levels of why in that to keeps you going. And for some reason, it took me a long time to get to my why. It took a long time. And then when I go back and look at all the things that I've done in the past, it was my why all along. I just couldn't verbalize it. Like,
Okay.
oh, I've been doing this the whole time for this reason. And you guys know the reason. Every woman should have the financial ability to walk away from any job or relationship that's not in her best interest. That is why. When I can't take it anymore, my mom comes into my head, and me having to stick in urology for as long as I've had to stick in urology comes in my head. I don't want anybody else there.
Yes, ma'am. I'm curious, and I know this, and I know, you've asked me great questions, but I have a question for you, and your audience may very well know this, but I'm genuinely curious. Tell me about the 19th house.
Oh, let's see. The 19th wasn't a house. That 19th was actually a resort, an international resort, I think. I can't remember.
Not so much about the property.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me about the journey of the 19th property. That I would love to hear that for sure.
Wow. Interesting question. Because you know what? I haven't thought about it. Now I'm really trying to remember what it was. And then, so you get the mentors. I think I was in mentorship for a lot longer than for quite a while before I ever bought anything else or invested in anything else, other than I was doing the traditional, I have this job that matches my 401k. So let me put enough in there that they're going to match it. That
Yes, ma'am.
safe thing, air quotes, safe thing that we do.
All right.
It was finding the thing. It really was about getting the mindset was a thing. It's like, because you realized that even when we had bought all those properties, my mindset was still in we got to protect everything. We don't have enough, and all the stuff, and those just washed away. And getting that around the people who were doing investing, who were making money, who were actually had a different mindset around money, helped me get my mindset right around or better, when I say right, better around money and investing. And then just the shorter, I'm going to get to your answer, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like getting around, and so I'm around people who are investing in real estate. That was my thing. It's like, I want real estate. I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and buy assets, and real estate was my thing.
Yes.
So that's how we got there. And then around all these other people who were doing real estate investing and buying apartments and doing these kinds of things, like, it was okay. I got it. I understood it. It made sense, but it wasn't fulfilling to me. It's kind of like medicine, honestly. I can do it. It's just not filling me anymore.
I got you.
So it was when I found the social impact. I met Lisa Landrum, I can't remember her husband's name, or social capitalists is what they call themselves. They were building things that added to the community, that really helped people do better in the community. And that's when I really started taking off. And the property the thing that I bought, where I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to raise money for this. It's like I'm raising money. I'm scared as heck because I'm taking other people's money to invest in this thing. It was a residential assisted living home, and with two guys that I knew, and we just went for it and got it built. And one thing I'm weak at is celebrating these victories that I'm like, that's probably one reason I don't remember a lot of these things. Like, you just accomplish something and keep going. But getting that up and running was a huge undertaking. Now, it didn't do as well as we thought it was going to do, and it was a lot of work. Investors got all their money back. It was everything I've done has been a learning experience, whether it's turned out great or hadn't turned out great, it's been a learning experience. But I think it took a long time. I'm going to say probably it was, I'm not telling you the truth. Actually, now I remember.
Uh-oh.
It's coming to me. It's coming to me. After we had lost everything, I had to make some decisions and left. We lived in Hawaii, left Hawaii, moved to California where I got a job. I was like, okay, how am I going to do this? I got to get some cash because nobody's going to give me credit. It was 2008, 2009. My credit score was 500. Got a job that gave me a gigantic signing bonus. Bought the things I needed to buy a car. Believe it or not, you guys, I had to pay 16% interest on my car because bad my credit score was. And I didn't want to just spend all the cash on a car. So I financed it. Bought 2 houses. Was having mentorship at the time, and a friend of mine that got me into the first house introduced me to some property managers who I hadn't had before, who actually were also the property managers, real estate folks, and owned property. And so they helped me buy properties long distance in Kansas City, which is an area I know. And that's how I really got started again, was buying those 2 properties. And I think I bought 3 within 2 years and a 4th. And then the more commercial stuff came up. That's what happened. So it wasn't as scary as I seem to remember it being. The scary part was raising money for that other deal. When I had my own cash and I could just flip out cash to buy things, I did it, and just it's like time to get back in.
I think the takeaway on the end of that piece was so powerful that it wasn't as scary to jump back in, because I think at that point you realized, where else am I going to go if I don't get back into this ring? Because there's no other way.
Well, or you could sit out. I could sit out and do what everybody else is doing, but knowing there's just something in me that knew that this was, real estate wasn't the problem. That's the thing. Real estate was not the problem. It was my knowledge, my lack of knowing the blind side, like all the stuff was the problem. It's like, okay, let me get to some people that I can learn from their mistakes. I don't have to make them all myself. That was an expensive mistake. You've heard the story. Expensive, painful mistake. Expensive in so many ways, financially, emotionally, lifestyle. It was just huge. But anyway, you don't have to do that.
That's right.
That's right.
You don't got to do that.
You don't have to do that. That was a great question. And I thank you. You made me work on that one.
I loved hearing the answer, though. I really did.
I appreciate it. How do people get you, George? How do they find you?
Yeah. So, well, there's a couple of ways. So, we do have a website. It's www.financialfreedombuilders.net. You're welcome to go and check out the website. If you have any questions, we'd love to connect with you all. We do have a social media page on Instagram. So it's at The Financial Constructor, kind of like if you're doing construction, The Financial Constructor. It's a good page. We like to engage with folks there. It's lighthearted. It's nothing that we're throwing, these heavy duty things. A lot of times it's very comical. But we love just connecting with people. I think for us, the biggest thing is if we can add value to your life through a conversation, we want to do that. But we're not, there's just a couple of avenues where you guys can get a hold of us, and, we'd love to connect.
You're like me, and I just like talking to people. I'm like, just talk and see where you are. Like, maybe we may not be right for each other, but network is important, you guys. Talk to people, and just people you can feel safe with. That's the bottom line. You want to be able to feel safe with who you're talking to. I was going to ask you something else, and now I forgot what it was. Instagram, your website, Financial Freedom Builders.
Not on TikTok. No offense to anybody on TikTok. I'm no TikToker.
Okay. You live in Tampa. You're a Raiders fan.
Yeah.
I forgot what I was going to add. It'll come to me. Anyway, How old are your kids?
Yeah, so my oldest, he is going to be 9 in a few weeks, and my middle son is 6, and my youngest son is 5.
3 boys. Okay.
3 boys, and they are very active. We have so they're right now, well, they're all in jujitsu, and then my youngest son is playing flag football. He's pretty good, he's very fast. And my 2 older sons, each of them are on their own respective basketball teams. But this particular season, my father is actually the coach for the team, and
Okay.
I am the assistant coach. So that's
Okay.
been a lot of fun. This was the first week of the season, and I will tell you, it's been a lot of fun already. I know we're etching a core memory in real time, so that's actually really cool to know that. And then later on, they'll be talking about it. So I'm being very sensitive to the fact that I know I'm etching the core memory, that it's a good core memory, but for sure, it's definitely one being built as we speak.
As far as your kids' money story, how would you like for that? How are you influencing that? Just for folks, so many people have kids. How are you influencing how they see money?
Yeah. So, that's a great question. And for folks with kids, it's never too young to start. You're really never too young to start. You may have to tailor make it to the age you're speaking to, the age of the child, but I would start immediately. And so, one thing that I was able to replicate from stuff that my parents did when I was a kid, we talked about that earlier today, is I did the same thing with the kids. The kids have their allowance. They're learning how to budget, giving to each other, giving to mom, to the church and all these other things. I've been able to implement a little bit more than maybe what my parents did because I have them investing. So they are investing. They put in some of their dollars into investing. And then I will show them quarterly, hey, this is what your money is doing. And then, hey, remember you gave this amount of money? Well, this amount of money is actually this amount of money. And then they'll ask, wait, so how did it go from here if I only put here? And so there's the journey of the lessons. Same thing similar to my folks when it comes to buying things. If they want to buy something, they know they've got to save the money and then they can make the purchases as well. I think that, if I'm doing all of this work to help people and then the journey that I've been on, if I don't invest that into my kids, then there's a total miss. And so yeah, that's what we do regularly. And it's great to see how my kids are evolving in their own age brackets with the understanding of finances because of it.
I agree. We worked with our kids too, we played Cashflow 101 when they were in 5th grade and 3rd grade, not the kids version, the adult version, and
Oh,
they really seemed to get it. And we still have those conversations now around that. I remembered I was going to ask you, what if you're the best person you could work with, who do you want to work with? I know you on your website you talk about athletes, employees, entrepreneurs. There's like, is there a particular person who's like, oh, that's me. I need to be talking to George right now.
yeah. And I'm actually later today, I'm actually going to an event at a university with some of the D1 athletes. So yes, there's the athlete component. But to be honest with you, you know who I really like working with? I really like working with individuals that are currently right now working a full-time job, maybe overtime, countless hours, and feel that they're trapped. Oh man,
Mhm.
I love those folks because the moment we can show some transformation where you don't have to work 50 hours a week or 60 hours a week, you can scale it back and then from here build. Oh man, that's gratifying to me, man, because in my opinion, I see a scenario where it's going to be folks either A, losing their jobs, or B, are going to have to work significantly more hours to justify being value add to a company. I mean, you're even seeing legislation where they're changing it where, no taxes on overtime, in the future. Well, why? Because they would prefer to have people working countless hours, essentially until they die, because as you work, you're making other people money. And so to me, I really enjoy working with those folks because if I can win you back some time tangibly, I think that's a value add for me.
That what you just said, you're working to make somebody else wealthy.
Yes, ma'am.
You get that kicked into your brain, it's hard to keep doing it and not seeing something for yourself coming back.
Amen.
I really, really had a good time, George. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's stay in touch. I'll get back in the States next week, I think. Hang on. Yeah, I think I'm coming back.
You coming back? That is too cool. You're Nigerian. This is too cool. Too cool. I love it.
It's really good. And one of my dreams and one of the things I've always wanted to do is explore the continent. And so far this year, I've been to Nigeria 3 times, Rwanda, Tanzania, Zanzibar, through Kenya. We haven't explored Kenya yet. South Africa in 23, and then Doha. I went to Istanbul, not the continent, of course.
Sure.
You guys, I'm going to just show my stupidity now. I didn't realize the Middle East was actually on the continent of Asia. I just didn't get that. Okay, traveling does good things for you. So,
Yes, it does.
again, thank you so much for being here. And you guys remember we got that retreat coming up. Speaking of traveling, retreat in Dominica, not the Dominican Republic, Dominica in March. So look at your emails for that. Check it out. Go to the website. I'm looking forward to being there with you. Thanks again so much, George. And we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.